All right, guys, welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. Today we're going to be looking at a Big Ten playoff eliminator going down on Saturday. Michigan State travels to Columbus to take on the Buckeyes. Top 10 matchup. 20-point spread right now for the Buckeyes. That's pretty ridiculous. Over-under at 67. This one will be contested at the Shoe. All-time, OSU leads this series 34-15. They have won 5 straight. This Michigan State offense, they've been really good this year. Kenneth Walker having a Heisman year. He's very good after contact, incredibly elusive. A good chunk of his yardage have come after contact. I think 1,000 yards, I think they said something insane. A lot of his yards have come after first contact, 1,400 yards on the year. That leads college football, 17 touchdowns rushing. He's having a great year behind offensive line. That's made some big strides this year. Jarrett Horst, Arkansas State transfer. He's been playing very good ball. They got one of the Allens up front at center. At right tackle, A.J. Curry, he's playing very well. Altogether, this offense has made big improvements altogether throughout the year. Coming into the season, they added a lot of transfers, both sides of the ball. This offensive line was a unit I circled for this team. I wanted to see how they progressed as the year went on, and man, they've been great. So that's a big part of their football team's running the ball, throwing the football. Peyton Thorne as a freshman, he's been very good. He can air it out. Play action really works for them. 250 yards per game for Thorne right now. He's got a group of receivers that really do a lot of different things. Jalen Redd, he can make an impact on special teams. Downfield, he's their best player. Jalen Naylor, Trey Mosley, these guys also get involved a good bit, but Redd is by far their best player. You'll see him make a big impact on a week-to-week basis, and he'll be needed on Saturday to have a big game. The thing with this Michigan State offense, they aren't perfect by any means this year. In games against Indiana, Nebraska, even Michigan, when they can't run the ball great, they struggle to throw the ball. And I'll reiterate that because they did run the ball very well against Michigan, but they didn't throw the ball very well in that game. And for the most part of the contest, their offense was kind of sluggish. Seems like they're better off with balance. They can't go one-dimensional in either way, really. They ended up winning that game against the Wolverines, but for the most part, they did struggle pretty heavily. They did against Indiana and Nebraska. They could not run the ball at all. And that doesn't allow them to drop back and play action and make plays downfield. It just seems when they can't run the ball, they struggle to throw too. Even though Peyton Thorne's been really good this season, that doesn't seem to be their bread and butter by any means. Overall, they have really good balance. This Michigan State offense has been very impressive this year. Mel Tucker has done some wonderful things. Looking at the Buckeye offense, they lead the nation in scoring and total offense. After the Purdue game, they dropped 59. I don't know, probably 600 yards. I don't know the yardage total, but they're now the nation leader in both of those categories. C.J. Stroud started off the year. It wasn't even bad to start the year. He had almost 500 yards against Oregon. He had a couple bad throws, including a pick on that final drive where they had a chance to win. He's made big strides all year long. Precision, accuracy, timing. He's gotten all those things down as the year has went on. He's having a big-time season for the Buckeyes here late in the year. How will he do in crunch time with a playoff spot on the line? I think he's going to handle it just fine. They're going to set him up for success, and it starts with this phenomenal supporting cast. Travion Henderson, true freshman, he's got 17 touchdowns of his own. Total, that is. Walker has all of his rushing. 1,200 total yards for Henderson himself. He does everything for them. He can catch and make a play. He can, pull away as a runner, pick up extra yards. Third, fourth, and short, he can pick those up as well. This guy's phenomenal. I'm surprised he doesn't get more Heisman consideration because as good as CJ has been, he's been as good himself. These guys have phenomenal balance. You look at the receiving group they have 3 different guys that have 50-plus receptions and 700-plus yards. Jackson Smith and Najiba, he's over 1,000 now, I think, on the year. He's probably their third-best receiver, and he leads them in receptions and yards. Chris Olave, 11 touchdowns. Garrett Wilson has 9. All these guys average at least 5 grabs and 70 yards per contest. It's just insane the talent they have at receiver, and it doesn't end there. They got Jeremy Ruckert, Emeka Egbuka, Julian Fleming's got a handful of touches. These guys are absolutely stacked at all positions. Mayan Williams at running back, he'll get involved a good bit. He's averaging 7.5 yards per carry this season. Master Teague's really played a backseat role. I think he might be hurt. He hasn't played a lot as the weeks have went down. Over the past month or so, he's not played a lot. But, whenever he's healthy, they'll get him some touches. The offensive line, though, it's among the nation's best. that left side, Nicholas Petit-Frere, Munford. These guys have clean pockets for days. It's just a complete offense. There's no better unit in college football because they have all these clean pockets. They pass protect very well. They run block very well. Allows them to survey the field, make plays to these pass catchers. It's just a very tough unit to contain. They have a very favorable matchup on Saturday as well. But altogether, love this Ohio State offense. The favorable matchup I was indicating, 130th in FBS in pass defense is Michigan State. Since the Miami game, I've been saying it, this secondary is a liability. Coming into the year, you knew it was going to be some issues because they added a lot of talented guys from the transfer portal, but very inexperienced. The depth isn't ideal. It's not bad, but again, inexperience isn't great for Michigan State. They've not gotten better as the year went on. Off coverage, especially on the boundaries, have really hurt them. They can't cover in the middle of the field. They've just struggled all year. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. Michigan tore them up. Western Kentucky, that played an air raid attack, they couldn't slow them down if they had to. They're in the second half, they couldn't find any offense either. So if they didn't score as much as they did, they might have lost that game. Who knows? Xavier Henderson, though, at safety, he is their best playmaker. He's better of a guy that can come down at the line of scrimmage and make plays more so than in the back end. 10, 11 tackles for loss this year for Henderson. He also leads them with 82 tackles. He's a great playmaker for them down in the box mainly, though. They just cannot cover. Underneath is going to be a big issue. It's going to be a big question mark. But the style of offense they're facing is it's not going to be pretty in my eyes. They can't cover on the outside. Ohio State loves to run those curls. Their drags are very successful. The out routes they run, the post routes, just these guys are so flawless. And Smith Najiba is an incredible route runner. It's going to be an onslaught, I think, because their pass rush disappeared against Michigan. As good as they are, they disappeared against a very good offensive line. They're playing probably an even better one here in Ohio State. I like what they've been getting out of Jacob Pasnick this year. Jeff Petrowski, he's been very good. But that's very concerning for you to disappear completely in the biggest game of the season so far. They have good depth, though, on the defensive line. Maverick Hansen at defensive tackle has been good. Drew Jordan, Beasley. I like how this defensive front altogether has played this year. But they have to find their pass rush. It's not going to be pretty if they can't find one consistently because this passing attack is just going to pick them apart. I like what they've done against the run. A little inconsistent at times, but they've never been bad at all in stopping the run. Again, the front seven they have, because they have playmakers at linebacker. One of the transfers they added, Quavarius Crouch from Tennessee. He's been very good for them. Noah Harvey, a veteran. He'll make some good plays from time to time. Cal Halliday as well. They have some very good linebackers. Altogether, though, the secondary, guys like Ronald Williams, Chester Kimbrough, transfers, they're good ball players. I just lack experience, and altogether, it's not been good for Michigan State so far. If Mel Tucker sticks around, that's obviously going to be fixed as time goes on. But at this moment in time, very bad matchup for Saturday's ball game. Like the Buckeyes have been any better in the secondary last week or on Saturday against Purdue. Gave up almost 400 passing yards. They didn't allow a lot of big passing plays. I think the 29 yards was the biggest pass play they completed or allowed from the Boilermakers. But underneath, they could not cover. You look at what they did against Penn State. They could not win on one-on-one matchups. The secondary's still been a big issue this year. They're playing a lot less man coverage. But against Purdue, they're just getting picked apart. Scored for 31 points, all on very long drives. There was no assists there at all with flags or turnovers, nothing. Purdue just went up and down the field on them numerous times. The air raid really gashed them up. The air raid, it's quick throws, tempo, so the pass rush was not able to do many big favors. Not really an excuse, but kind of a reason why they had 0 sacks, because the weeks beforehand, they've had 4+ sacks in the 4 or 5 games before the Boilermakers. I don't know. The secondary has been very concerning. I think it's going to work kind of into their favor, though, in this game because, like I said, Michigan State, when they can't run the ball, they can't really throw that well. Very good run defense for the Buckeyes. The most they've allowed is 113 yards, I think, since the Oregon game. The first 2 weeks of the year, they were very bad. The positioning was rough. They could not get off blocks on the edge. That's been a different case here over the past, how many ever games, like past 7 games or so. Trajada Mitchell, Cody Simon, these guys have been much better positioning, really finding their footing at linebacker. 3.3 yards per carry allowed this year versus the Power 5 opponents. This was a top 10 run defense a season ago, too, led by guys like Eskel Garrett, Jack Sawyer, Zach Harrison. The pass rush is very good. They're very deep on the defensive line. They won't ever get gassed out. Michigan State's going to have to win that matchup in the trenches, but Ohio State, they seem very favorable. I think how they can cover underneath, again, it's still a big topic because against Purdue, they did not do that very well. And Michigan State has burners. They'll make you pay. So if they can't slow down this run, I know they're a 20-point favorite, but if they can't slow down the run, it's going to open up the play-action passing for Michigan State, and they could have some very good success. So the Buckeye defense is still a concern. They're continuously getting better. Ronnie Hickman, he's been a very good hybrid playmaker. He's all over the field for them. I like the Ohio State defense and the progress they're making, but overall the secondary is nowhere like it's been in the past. And still, it's a pretty concerning unit. So looking at team comparisons, I give the Buckeyes the edge at quarterback. Both of them have really good quarterbacks right now, but I think what Stroud's doing through the air is much more impressive. Yes, I know he's got an elite supporting cast, but his precision and timing is, that's not your supporting cast. That's building chemistry with your players, and being a good player in your own right, continuing the work. He's obviously did that. Running back, I'm going to give the edge to Michigan State. Kenneth Walker leads the nation in rushing and touchdowns. It would just be kind of disrespectful not to put him there. Yeah, Michigan State has Ohio State has better depth with Henderson, Williams, Teague if he plays, but Kenneth Walker, he's the best running back in this game. So pass catchers, Buckeyes, no discussion needed there. Just told you 3 different guys have 700-plus receptions or receiving yards. No debate there. The offensive line and the defensive line, no real debate needed there either. Michigan State's not bad in these categories by any means whatsoever. Just the Buckeyes do have an edge there. Michigan State, they've made big strides on the offensive line. The defensive line has some very good depth. Pass rush isn't bad. The Buckeyes, though, they have a much better offensive line and pass protection, too. Defensive line loaded with depth. Linebacker, I'm going to give the edge to Michigan State. I really like what they have in Quavarius Crouch, Cal Halliday. These guys are big-time playmakers. I've given plenty of respect to the Buckeyes linebackers, though, because they're really playing better as the season went on. But I think I like what Michigan State has at linebacker. I'm going to give them the edge there. Secondary, it's kind of even. It'd be kind of, again, disrespectful to put the Buckeyes to have an edge there because Michigan State clearly doesn't, dead last in college football in pass defense, but it's not like the Buckeyes have been playing any better either. Kind of equal in that playmaking category. And Xavier Henderson, he's the best defensive back in this game, at least in my eyes. He's a better playmaker than he's the best playmaker in the back end for either team. Even though Ronnie Hickman, Denzel Burke, they've been playing very well. I'll give Henderson the edge there, but overall, it's pretty even in the secondary. Final thoughts and prediction, the keys to the game for Michigan State, their pass rush has to step up flat out. They have to help out the secondary. If they don't show up, they're going to get brutalized big time by the Buckeyes. They need to show up. For the Buckeyes, they need to slow down Kenneth Walker in the running game. I keep touching on how this offense doesn't really thrive that well when the running game gets slowed down. If they can do that, they'll have a pretty good edge in this game as 20-point favorites, which is absurd. But I have Ohio State winning 45-30. I think Michigan State, they're going to have some success. The Buckeyes defense isn't invincible by any means. Yes, they've been playing much better. Still plenty of gaps and holes, though. Again, how they guard Kenneth Walker in the running game is really going to dictate the final score. I think they'll have some good success. This guy's a hard runner, even if they get good penetration. Michigan State, they run a lot of bunch sets. They get sometimes 2 tight ends involved. They're going to find a way to be able to run the ball for at least around 150 yards. I don't think they're going to have an onslaught by any means, but I think they'll have some good success running the ball, kind of like they did against Michigan. I think Ohio State, they'll have no problem scoring against the secondary. I don't see the Spartan pass rush helping them out. I think Michigan State will be playing catch-up most of the game, but I think their offense will have success. I don't think it's going to be a shutout. A big game, a lot of things to learn from the Buckeyes defense, though. If they can, play a very good game, that's going to be highly impressive. But I think Michigan State will be able to keep pace for a little bit. Buckeyes should win this one by double figures, though, because I just don't see Michigan State being able to stop. But their offense will have plenty of success. So Buckeyes 45, Michigan State 30. That's going to wrap everything up for today's episode, guys. Make sure you leave a comment below on who you think is going to win. Subscribe. See you next time.